Powered by Righteous Media.
Welcome to Independent Americans. Welcome to episode 317. I'm your host, Paul Rieckhoff. And welcome to President Mayhem 2.0. Welcome to the second term of the most dangerous, reckless, and mayhem-inducing president America has ever seen. He's been inaugurated, and now is most definitely a time to stay vigilant. And it began Monday. A new cultural, intellectual, political, democratic, moral Great Depression. That's what we are about to experience, what we must endure, what we must live through, what we must survive. And in my view, the biggest change and the biggest challenge is the message. It's everybody for themselves. That was the message from Trump in his inauguration and the actions that immediately followed, which are many and noteworthy. But you're all in this on your own. The government is not going to help you. The neighboring states are not going to help you. The president is not going to help you unless you pay him or give him a reason. And it may sound good in the beginning, but when you're stuck with only local city resources and people are looking out for themselves, the culture disintegrates onto itself. America has always been a balkanized country of different cultures. But now, those balkanizations are being exacerbated, magnified, and exploited. America has always been united by a common vision and good leadership. And that's gone now. And either a vision rises and leaders step forward and get us to appreciate it, or we're all in this together. And like crabs in a bucket, we eat our own and we all go down together. Because it is on, folks, and Trump is wasting no time, just as he promised. So let's kick off the show as we always do with my top topics. Right out of the gate, Trump blew apart our society, our rule of law, and gave our enemies reason to celebrate by pardoning 1,500 January 6th defendants, insurrectionists, people who stormed the Capitol, broke laws, abused police, and should be in jail. On the list of pardons, Stuart Rose, the founder of the Oath Keepers, and Enrique Tarrio, a leader of the Proud Boys. And this all happened the same day that Elon Musk did a Nazi salute at a Trump rally. Somewhere in hell, Osama bin Laden is smiling. And everywhere, our enemies are celebrating. Our friend of the show, Luke Russert, posted a quote that I think is especially powerful and timely from Ulysses S. Grant. If we're to have another contest in the near future of our national existence, I predict the dividing line will not be the Masons and the Dixons, but the patriotism and intelligence on one side and superstition, ambition, and ignorance on the other. That's from Ulysses S. Grant, and that's never been more true than now. We saw another aggressive and radical move from Trump right out of the gate that hits on our national security. Within hours of taking office, Trump terminated the Secret Service detail that was assigned to his former national security advisor, John Bolton. John Bolton served in his first administration and has now become a political adversary, and it looks like a political enemy. Now in 2022, the Department of Justice actually charged an Iranian national with trying to kill John Bolton. So even if you don't like John Bolton, even if you don't like Donald Trump, you should probably think it's a bad idea that the Iranians want to kill a former national security advisor. And it might be a good idea to keep that Secret Service protection up, whether you agree with them or not. Trump thought otherwise and removed Bolton's security detail, as he'll probably do with others. Watch this space. Also in the last week, and probably below your radar, Speaker Mike Johnson has removed Mike Turner as the intelligence chair. Now, Mike Turner's been a longtime advocate for Ukraine and has been a critic in the past of Trump, and he's out. Now, Speaker Johnson had this to say: "This is not a presidential decision. This is a House decision. This is no slight whatsoever to our outgoing chairman. He did a great job." Bullshit. Everything is a Trump decision now, and Johnson is an empty vessel for him. And the Trump steamroller is continuing to pick up steam. Turner has been a critic of Trump and a supporter of Ukraine, so he's gone. The purge is just getting started. But after this move, Ukraine is understandably deeply concerned, Putin is thrilled, and our enemies are celebrating. An important point on all of this: please, especially to anyone in the media that watches or listens to this show, don't normalize this shit. This is not normal. This inauguration, this first week, it is not normal. It is twisted, insane, and dangerous, especially to the independent voices that remain. Do not normalize this. This is not normal. He is not normal. His actions are not normal. None of this is normal. And very little of it is actually acceptable by the majority of Americans. But it's radical, it's dangerous, it's unprecedented, and it's often strategic. But nothing about this inauguration has been normal. And the same is true about all that is to come, and come quickly. So especially to my friends in the media, stay vigilant. And of course, this historic and unprecedented and very unnormal inauguration happened on, of all days, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, the day we recognize a guiding light for our democracy and for civil action and for citizenship and for leadership. And there's never been a more important MLK Day to remember all the leadership, messages, and spirit that Martin Luther King stood for. We've never needed his example and his spirit more than now. And there's never been a time where we all needed to be more like him than now. All of us. So stay strong, America. We can and will survive this. And we shall overcome. You also may have seen in the news that TikTok has been banned and shut off and turned back on again. And TikTok is in the news and being said more than you ever want to hear the word TikTok. But every once in a long while, my fellow veteran, Republican Senator Tom Cotton and I share a position on an issue. And this is one of those times. Tom Cotton has been aggressively in favor of banning TikTok, and I agree. No matter how much people love TikTok, no matter how hard they lobby, and no matter how much TikTok tries to fluff its image with donations to vets organizations or running endless ads of patriotic Kenny during football, TikTok is a national security threat. And it's one we can't afford. We don't need the Chinese government having detailed data and information about millions of Americans. TikTok should have been banned long ago. And every day that it's not, our enemies are celebrating. And right before he left office, Joe Biden did one last thing to disappoint us all. He said he would not enforce the TikTok ban before leaving office, a TikTok ban that was put into law by over 80 senators in a vote on the floor. It's been a bipartisan failure by Biden and by Trump. One has been corrupted by popular opinion, the other by profit and or any other number of things. But it's yet another example of how both parties are failing us. And after a huge final push by the Democrats, the Supreme Court agreed to ban TikTok. And so the Democrats lose yet again. Almost every day there's a new, frustrating, and spectacular Democratic failure. And every other day is another big issue that underscores how lost, leaderless, and lacking in strategy the Democrats are as a party. They have no vision, they have no leaders, and they are losing more and more Americans by the day. Two more pieces of breaking news that you need to know about that I need to comment on. This week, it's been reported that Pete Hegseth's former sister-in-law has now made allegations that he was abusive toward her sister, his ex-wife. This one is not anonymous. Neither was the email from his mother, but just in case you were saying all these allegations are anonymous, Danielle Hegseth has issued a sworn affidavit that's been submitted to the Senate. She put her name on it, and her name is Danielle Hegseth. And it confirms the deepest concerns about Hegseth's character and stability. And it's another allegation of abuse toward women. Now, I've always said that senators are keeping their powder dry, holding their votes just in case something else comes out. Well, this just came out, and I think more may come out before you even see this message. Is it enough to move Joni Ernst and Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins and any other moderates or any other Republicans at all who have said they either will vote for him or they're waiting to see? But it should be enough to move them because he's unfit, he's unqualified, and he's disqualified. And this is finally the time for his two ex-wives to speak out. I know it's hard, I know it's dangerous, but the American people, our troops, and the welfare of our men and women in uniform especially depend on the truth about what this man is made of and what he's done. And here's something that was way below your radar. Did you know yesterday that the Senate had a confirmation hearing for the Secretary of Veterans Affairs? Yes, the man nominated by Trump to oversee maybe one of the most important agencies in the federal government, the sacred responsibility of taking care of our veterans. And a man named Doug Collins was nominated, and it got almost no national attention. So is there any cabinet secretary that got less attention than the nomination for the Secretary of Veterans Affairs? It's sad. Support the troops? The lack of attention for that is the opposite. And there's more breaking news. Trump will now send 1,500 active duty troops to the U.S. border with Mexico, following a newly signed order. Now, there are already 2,500 U.S. troops there. They're National Guard and reservists, and these will be active duty. Sending active duty troops to the border now is nothing more than Trump using them as political props. Especially since active duty troops are actually forbidden from doing law enforcement. There's something called the Posse Comitatus Act that forbids them from doing that kind of work. Now, they can't arrest or detain anybody on the border unless Trump acts to invoke the Insurrection Act, which of course may be next. Nevertheless, it's a blatant misuse and politicization of our military by Trump yet again. And it's likely just the first of many to come, especially if Pete Hegseth is confirmed. Everything in America is going to be politicized by Trump, folks. Everything. Our military, most egregiously and dangerously of all. So strap in, folks, and stay vigilant. We can't have a show this week without recognizing the fact that Joe Biden is now gone. And every day, it seemed like he did more to hurt his own personal reputation and potentially our country. Maybe most notably by preemptively pardoning his family members on his way out the door. But before that, he did something that I think is extremely noteworthy, important, and honorable. Right before the spectacle of the inauguration, Biden said goodbye with his presidential farewell address. And anytime a president says goodbye in a farewell address, I think all Americans should listen. It was a good and very sobering and important speech. The good ones, most famously by Dwight Eisenhower, are full of warnings that may prove prophetic. And the two are also now the same. From Starlink to Oracle Cerner to Palantir to every company focused on AI, tech companies are now also defense contractors. So yes, beware the military industrial complex, and beware the technology industrial complex, and beware of the combination of the two. I tell you every week, look for the helpers. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of concern. There's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of pain. From the wildfires to the border to Ukraine. And if you need some inspiration, draw from our friend, the great Mr. Rogers, who said, look for the helpers. They'll be running in when others are running out. And if you've got a helper you want to make me aware of, use the hashtag look for the helpers, hit me on social media and let me know. Here's one that you definitely got to check out. This is the moment when Rocky was being loaded into a chopper. Rocky is a U.S. Marshal canine dog who was shot after he sniffed a suspect in a dumpster. He is expected to survive and is being called a hero. And he is most definitely a helper. Folks, we talk about it all the time, but the Democrats will not save you. I talk about it every week, but it's a good time to remember, every week is a good time to remember, the Democrats will not save you. The Republicans obviously will not save you, but neither will the Democrats. And check out what the host of Liberal Pod Save America had to say on the show with our friend Stephen Colbert this week.
What happened, which, as I said before, I don't think people really know exactly how we are, where we are. I think people are going to rush to a lot of answers there, and time will tell. I'd rather ask what's next? How can people channel their, pure frustration into energy somewhere productive?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have midterm elections in 2026. Democrats have a very good chance of taking back the House, so I think we can focus on that. If we are able to take back the House in 2026, then Donald Trump will never sign another piece of legislation again. So we can focus on that. But look, I think the Democratic Party needs to learn to listen to people. We just spent the last 4 years where, a majority of Americans said, prices are too high, inflation's too high, and the White House said, no, everything's great, look at all these statistics. And then majority of people said, we don't want Joe Biden to run again because he's too old and he should make room for someone else. And the White House said, no, we're good, the polls are wrong, he's just gonna run again and it's fine. And I think that we have consistently as a party felt like being right is enough, and being right is not enough. You actually have to persuade people to believe what you're saying.
So says a trio of Democratic staffers. You have to persuade people to believe what you're saying. Think about that. You have to persuade people to believe what you're saying. No. You have to channel and be an advocate for what the people are saying. This is trash. Another example of how the Democrats are lost and leaderless and failing all Americans, especially independent Americans. So if you're not independent yet, why don't you come on over? Check us out. Even if you're independent curious, join the movement that asks you not to abide by their rules, their ridiculousness, and their leaders. Be a free agent. Go solo. Declare your independence. Because we found out this week that independent Americans remain at a record high 43%. When asked for their party affiliation, in a recent Gallup poll, Americans were most likely to identify as independents, 43%. 28 said they were Democrats, 28 said they were Republicans. And a plurality of at least 39% of Americans have said that they are independent since 2011. And somebody asked me on Twitter, demographically speaking, how should we define independence? They represent a sizable chunk of the population. Are independents likely to be more educated than other two groups? What sets them apart, in other words? Ask David Stone on Blue Sky, which I'll recommend you check out and join. Get rid of X and check out Blue Sky. But what unites us is that we reject Democrats, Republicans, and all parties. We are political free agents. Yep, we are the future. So leave the herds, declare your independence. And independent vets especially. Check out independentveteransofamerica.org. We ran 11 candidates in 2024, and we're going to run at least 25 in 25. Independent veterans who say no to both parties and yes to the future. I know times are tough out there, folks, for many. But right now, I want to leave you with a powerful and positive message from a friend of this show, the great Henry Rollins.
It's a time to frown, but it's also a time to take the frown and play jiu-jitsu and flip it into a smile. This is where your words and your deeds matter more than ever. The fact that you will not tolerate homophobia or racism or misogyny, that you can rub off on your friends, that you can help divorce your friends from their remaining prejudices, that you can be influential in that way in the face of this, that you can get to your weird uncle who spouts this stuff at Thanksgiving by showing him something or introducing him to someone. So now your words and your actions mean more than ever, because it's not we, it's going to be individuals going like, not on my watch, and not picking up a rock, but picking up an idea and taking some time to lift, like Lincoln wanted all the boats being lifted by the same tide.
Yes, folks, goodness is viral, and hope is the oxygen of democracy, and it is also contagious. Obviously, no guest this week, but go to independentamericans.us and check out all the episodes going all the way back from everybody from Tulsi Gabbard and Meghan McCain to Stephen Colbert and the just mentioned Henry Rollins. We've got lots of video and audio at independentamericans.us. And if you're watching this right now on YouTube, please do what you can, subscribe for free right here, and share it with 5 friends. Share 5 and 25 and help us build this independent movement. And if you're not already, please consider joining our Patreon community. If you like this episode, donate $1, $1 an episode is all I ask to help us keep this movement going and help us continue to bring the independent voice to the people, busting up all that partisan and corporate media that is overflowing and driving us all crazy. I hope you enjoyed the playoffs and the national championship game, which I got very much wrong. My condolences to my fellow Notre Dame fans and congratulations to Ohio State. And coming up this weekend in the NFL, it is maybe the best weekend of the year with two fantastic matchups. Jaden Daniels and the upstart Washington Commanders are going to go into Philly and try to knock off Saquon. And I don't think they got it. Philly at home and Saquon is going to be too much. And this amazing run from the Commanders dies in Philly. I'm picking the Eagles to win by 20. I'm going to call it 40-20 Eagles. And in the showcase game that probably will be better than the Super Bowl, it's going to be the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen going into Arrowhead to try to knock off Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey and the others. And I think they can do it. I think this is the year. I think Josh Allen is playing better than even Patrick Mahomes. Buffalo's got it. Buffalo's got it. Kansas City doesn't look as strong as they have in the past, despite a fantastic game last week from Jason Kelsey. And I'm picking the Bills to win a tight one, 31-28 over the Chiefs. I'm sorry to my little guy River, who is the biggest Chiefs fan on the planet, but I'm picking the Bills. So hopefully this time next week, we will have a Bills matchup against the dreaded Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm going to tell you in advance, I'm picking the Bills and definitely rooting for the Bills. But enjoy the football and use it as an escape if you can to shut off the cable news and give your mind and your body and your soul a little bit of a break and something to cheer for. Because America is more divided than ever, but here at Independent Americans and Righteous Media, we're fighting to change that, adding light to contrast the heat of all the other political news and culture shows. So if you're among that growing group that are independents, this is your show. If you're a Republican or a Democrat and you're not a diehard partisan, this is your show. If you're a concerned American who cares about the future of your country, this is your show. All are welcome. Because our independent movement is the hope for the future. Country over party, people over politics, busting up the status quo, and offering an alternative to the two-party duopoly, and offering an alternative for a more positive, patriotic future. If you enjoyed this episode and past episodes, please share them far and wide and invite your friends and family to declare their independence. And stay vigilant, my friends, because eternal vigilance is the price of democracy. And it's going to be paid now more than ever. But know you're not alone in your vigilance. We're all vigilant, and we're all in this together. I'm your host, Paul Rieckhoff. Thank you for listening. Down with Hamas. Down with Putin. Slava Ukraine. And stay vigilant, America. Let's go Bills.
Powered by Righteous Media.